thesis, huh?
Yeah.
As Sontag argues, there is one important thing missing in the art of photography: context. And as Sontag also points out, even if a surface reality is perfectly captured, does it reveal anything new? Which part's the thesis?
The whole thing?
No, that's not possible.
No.
Ooh, let's flip back over to the thing. Okay, so what did they say was the thesis? All art forms limit our understanding of the world. The student who wrote this essay demonstrates a clear understanding of rhetorical strategies. She claims that Sontag is making sweeping generalization about an art form that she knows little about. I don't see it says thesis anywhere, huh? But this is a good place to go to look for what it is. I would actually argue that it could be that second sentence, but it also could be the question, which is not something I'm going to teach you to do because that's highly questionable. But I like thesis questions. Some people don't. Okay. So this is my favorite part. I have a great deal of background in the study of film. And the one thing I have found is that filmmakers tend to belong to one of two camps. Realists tend to believe in capturing the world the way it looks, smells, and feels. Like photographers, they are showing the audience something it hasn't seen before. Most of us are too self-absorbed to see reality as it really is. It's a good sentence. At the other pole are expressionists who, like Sontag, believe that external appearances are full of irrelevancies and sometimes deceit. Okay, I want to stop and talk about words just for a second.
I now know where you got that quote from. Or they got the quote.
So, these words right here, irrelevancies and deceit. Do you know them? These words. Irrelevant,
Yes.
deceit.
No.
You're familiar with the words?
Yeah.
Irrelevant is slightly.
So we're fixing to read a different one, the 7, where the kid uses some really big words, like obstreperous lies, is what he says.
Dictionary?
So, just be still for a minute. So here's the thing. I have a friend who always says bizarre. That's so bizarre. That's bizarre. He's bizarre. It's bizarre. And I'm like, that's so cool, because I always say weird. That's weird. It's weird. And she uses bizarre like it's some fancy word. It's not a fancy word. It's not a big word. It's just a different word. Like instead of started to, how about began? Instead of, like, I can't think of another one right now. But try to think of just a better word. Don't use a thesaurus. Just a better word. Okay. So I have 5 whole minutes. Be still. 6.
Technically.
Be still. Stop it. Don't touch it.
Technically, you have
Okay.
if you want to keep
This kid, the 8, in fact, this would be 100 in here, has the worst introduction I've ever read on an 8, actually. Photography in no way limits our understanding of the world. Photography instead broadens and enhances our understanding of the world. Photography increases awareness and provokes thought. Photography is as valid an art form as writing, and in some ways preserves history and knowledge better than literature.
Help.
Indeed, products of photography are not mental pollutions, but are more like breaths of fresh air.
Oh,
It's got potential at the end. That's good. I like that. But it's like photography, blah, 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 blah. Photography, blah, 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 blah. Photography, blah, blah. Like the same length and everything. Like it's not very well written. But remember, it's not tied to your intro. Which sentence is their thesis?
the last.
Yours guessing.
The last
No, I
one.
really
It's
think
the first one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh. Okay. Yeah.
The last one supports that. Or could be. I mean, but. So, and this person is very strongly opinionated, which is interesting. This statement is only true if the viewer of the photograph is either blind or just dense. then it says Sontag concludes the first paragraph by saying, only that which narrates can make us understand. Sontag proves the dullness of her senses because photos do speak. She just refused to listen.
Dang.
They do use a very good example here, and if you go and read the commentary, they say they like it. When a person saw the famous photograph from the Oklahoma bombing of a fireman carrying a small child through the rubble, they were immediately able to understand the tragedy. They immediately could hear the mother's heartbroken wails. The trick to understanding photographs, or any art form for that matter, is to look, listen, and then just let the art penetrate.
That's really good. I like that.
Okay, so this is the 7, which is completely doable. I actually think y'all would be better to look at the 8. In reality, there are 2 worlds, the real world and the recreated world. I need you to think about just that sentence for a minute. In reality, there are 2 worlds, the real world and the recreated world. It doesn't make any sense, that's right. So, some of you in your work, or just one person actually, so I'll just give you an example. Somebody wrote in their Martin Luther King essay, impoverished lies. Do you know what impoverished means?
Nope.
So it sounds good, right? Impoverished lies? Impoverished means poor, like lack of money.
Like, not very good. Not very good lives.
Nope, impoverished means poor.
That like poor is also not very good.
No, I mean, it's lack of money specifically.
Oh.
So,
Moneyless
impoverished,
lies.
yes, so that doesn't make sense, right? So this is kind of the same. Kids got like big words, but it doesn't make a lot of sense. This is the example they did not like. A photographer could travel to Queens, New York, give a rich man some clothes and a pose, and take a happy picture. What the observers do not know about this picture is that an hour before, 2 men robbed a liquor store and killed an employee. But of course, no one photographed that. This is the one they did like. An ordinary man walks into McDonald's. He sees a luscious cheeseburger on a sign that in all its grandeur must weigh 10 pounds. When he opens the tasty treat at his table, he is sufficiently disappointed that his burger is off-centered with a conglomeration of onions and mustard and ketchup sloppily strewn across the feeble, pitiful square of false meat.
That's very
Anybody who's been to
That's
to
Wendy's.
McDonald's, it's not square. Okay. This photograph may have ephemeral monetary benefits to such a large corporation. Sit down! Oh, okay, you can go.